Do you know all 4 different kinds of fail states? And no, I don't mean failed states. I mean what actually happens when you're not good enough in a game. What happens when you miss the jump in Super Mario, get killed by a Dark Souls boss yet again, or just don't manage to follow the damn train.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
Fail states are the usually negative consequences that kick in after you fail. And thank God they exist. Now of course the question is, why on earth should I be happy about being punished? We will get to that in a second, don't worry. I think all of us have seen a screen like this at least once. It's a thing that lets you reload your last save and try again. Games handle the consequences of failure in very different ways. But the price players almost always have to pay is their time. In the best case, you just lose a few seconds and can immediately give it another shot. Or you're playing Diablo on hardcore, die to the butcher and lose dozens of hours of your life. So why is that a good thing? When you miss the goal in a game, there has to be a consequence. Fail states are the boundary between warm-up and real stakes. They make sure you pay attention, that your decisions matter and that the victory actually gets your heart pumping. Without the risk of losing something, there is no tension, no thrill. And that's exactly what we play for. We want the thrill. We want the tension. We want that feeling when you barely manage to beat that one boss with your last bit of HP. And this is where designers come in. The art is deciding what failure is allowed to cost. This is where we hit the 50-hour problem. If you lose after a 15-minute run in a roguelike, that hurts. But if you lose 50 hours of campaign progress in one go, you start questioning your life choices. What do you do then? Start over? Lower the difficulty if the game lets you? Put the game away and promise yourself you will come back to it one day? That's exactly the point where a fail state stops being exciting and becomes a barrier. Not because players don't want hard games, but because life is short. Not everyone can afford to casually throw away 50 hours. So what's the difference between all the fail states? There are 4 different kinds. Hard fail, soft fail, fail forward, and my favorite fail state, which I will show you later in this video. A classic example for a hard fail is the Call of Duty or Battlefield campaign, but also stuff like Super Meat Boy or Trackmania. You fail and you have to restart the level from the very beginning or from a checkpoint without carrying over any progress or dropped items. It's basically a restart to a fixed point in time. Other games that use hard fail are things like There Are Billions, Celeste or Cuphead. With soft fail, you carry some progress through death. That can be like in Dark Souls or Minecraft, where you drop souls or items where you died and can pick them up again. Or Monster Hunter, where you keep the items you gathered during the hunt, and consumed items stay consumed. So dying hurts, but it doesn't wipe everything. Then there is what's called fail forward. Here, failure changes the game state. That could be story changes in Heavy Rain or Detroit Become Human, or the Nemesis system in Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War, where enemies get stronger when you fail. Your failure becomes content. The game moves forward, just in a different direction. Different games need different fail states, and that's why all of these approaches are valid. For Super Meat Boy, a fast, insanely hard platformer, hard fail is absolutely the right choice. And the speed at which you can retry is perfect. You die, and not even 2 seconds later you are already in the next attempt. If the game showed you a long death screen like GTA every time and killed your momentum, nobody would still be playing after 3 deaths. Yes, you go all the way back to the start of the level, but you're back in the action so quickly that it doesn't feel annoying. And that's where the real art of designing fail states lies. What matters the most is what happens directly after you fail. If the game asks you to run the same 30-minute path back to the quest marker just to get another attempt at the boss, that's pure frustration. I would much rather have the checkpoint right in front of the boss and make the fight harder instead of having to do a half world tour every time. Playtime shouldn't be stretched just by forcing you to walk the same path over and over again. You should place checkpoints before key moments, not at the start of a long journey. You can also adjust fail states depending on how far into the game the player is. Build systems where the earliest failures are cheap and densely informative. The mid-game failures are recoverable with effort, and the late-game failures are rare, epic and understandable. When designing fail states, devs should always ask themselves, what does the player learn from this fail state? If the answer is, they get to repeat the same 15-minute run again, you should probably tweak that system. If the answer is, it teaches better resource management, better reading of enemy patterns or making decisions under pressure, then it's doing something meaningful. Not only far away checkpoints are a problem, but also other mechanics that many games use. Yes, I'm looking at you, quick save. But that's a whole video on its own. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, let's finally get to my favorite fail state, permadeath. Here, everything is on the line. FTL, The Binding of Isaac, or Diablo on hardcore mode. If you play these games, you either have to be an insanely good player, like me for example, or you just have to be okay with losing your entire save file. One tiny mistake and 50 hours of your precious, finite lifetime are gone. No checkpoints, no second chances. Of course, you can also impose this kind of consequence on yourself in pretty much any other game. There are enough YouTube and Twitch challenges where people try to beat, for example, Monster Hunter without taking a single hit. You can apply that style of challenge to pretty much any game you want. So here are my final thoughts. Fail states are not your enemy. They are the reason games are fun and exciting, but only if they are implemented well and thoughtfully designed. Tell us in the comments what you think about fail states and which games have given you your worst fail state experiences. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out our video about minimaps and why they destroy your immersion. See you next time here on Nerd Section.